Lewis.
Well, Your Worship, one of the beauties of democracy is that on the issues of the day, there are, in fact, many different positions. On this issue, whether or not City Council is spending too much time on items that are technically outside of its jurisdiction, I part company 180 degrees with Councillor Sullivan. If anything, I would suggest that we in fact do not spend enough time on those types of issues. But perhaps a little bit of history is in order. A little bit of history, because I think it's very important that the citizens of Vancouver watching today understand the context in which this debate is taking place. The context in which this debate has taken place for many, many decades. Back in the 1980s, in fact, to cite just one example, there was a worldwide campaign by citizens all around the world on one of the most important issues to have ever faced humankind. That issue being the arms race, the nuclear arms race. And the NPA then said the very same thing they say today, that City Council should not deal with that issue. That City Council is somehow or other limited in its intellectual abilities, so limited that it can only deal with two issues at a time, dogs and sewers, and can never deal with anything any more complex than dogs and sewers. And Councillor Rankin with COPE stood up and pointed out the irony that if this council were to take a position, take an initiative that moved the world just one small iota away from incineration, the benefit would not only be his children, but regrettably the children of the NPA as well. That was said in jest. Well, the citizens of Vancouver marched by the tens of thousands, on one rally over 100,000, in support of nuclear disarmament, and while the City of Vancouver, with a COPE majority, passed a motion declaring the City of Vancouver a nuclear weapons-free zone. That was ridiculed by the NPA then, and I note on the TV just a couple of weeks ago, ridiculed yet again. But friends, what was the result of that? The result was a rippling effect. Throughout the world, a rippling effect, and municipalities all over the world passed similar resolutions. The citizens of the world, noting then what we've always known, the three levels of government, federal, provincial, municipal, the municipal being the easiest to access, the most accessible, and the most democratic. And once thousands of municipalities had passed those resolutions, it was only a matter of time before a nation finally did the same thing. New Zealand declaring itself free, zone free of all nuclear weapons, and that began the process of disarmament. Now I fast forward to today. I noticed on the news just a couple of weeks ago, Councillor Sullivan complaining that the little signs that declared this city a weapons-free, a nuclear weapons-free zone, now that COPE has a majority again, being refurbished and being put up, complaining that COPE is standing up for its citizens about the very negative impact that will result from the privatization of security services in our hospitals, complaining about the amount of time that those citizens, the security officers, took in explaining their situation to us. And very briefly, Your Worship, I'm conscious of the fact that we have a 5-minute limit. Let me agree with Councillor Sullivan's recollection. It did take 2 hours. Let me remind Councillor Sullivan that as chair of the committee, I limited each of those delegations to 5 minutes. And in 5 minutes, they convinced, because it didn't take a lot of convincing, 9/11 of this council of the need for this council to take a very firm position. They then spent a further 2 hours answering the questions that were directed by 2 members of this council. And I won't name those 2 members. And now today we find out that one of the points put forward against council dealing with those issues is the amount of time that took place. I'm proud of the fact that we have an open-minded council, a council that encourages and welcomes its citizens. We have open doors here at council, and when our citizens, our employers, who hire us on a 3-year term, ask us to deal with the issues of the day, I'll always be there, open-minded, even if 2 members of council are not. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Just in the interest of accuracy, you stated that now that Cope was the majority again, this is our first one. Not our last, but our first one. Okay. Councillor Bass.
Councillor Woodward was